Hello, everyone. Good morning to you. Good afternoon. Good evening, depending on whichever part of the world you are tuning in from. I welcome you to yet another promising edition of the Forex Morning Mastery with Sheriff Daramola, where we shall be taking another fresh new look at the financial market in anticipation of both the London and the New York session today. It has been quite an indecisive 24 hours, I would say, as remember we had a key event that came in yesterday in the form of the CPI data, which of course gives us an insight into the inflation condition in the United States. And of course, we had it come beyond expectation at I think we had it at 3.6. Let me confirm that quickly. Okay, yes, we had it at 3.6%, which is a little bit higher than the previous one, which came in at 3.2%. And of course, it in fact exceeded all expectations as regards to that. And as a result of this, the sentiment as regards to the interest rate decision coming up much more later in the month has finally shifted into majority thinking that the Fed Reserve is likely going to be increasing the interest rate one more time. And normally when this kind of sentiment happens, we used to see the positive traction in favor of the US dollar as everyone clamors to take a little bite of the US dollar in anticipation of taking a better yield on that asset. Yesterday the traction didn't really move as expected, as we saw a little bit of indecision in the market despite that CPI data. But this morning we begin to see some traction in that regard, and in fact we are going to be looking at that from a technical standpoint using our price action based technical skills to identify and position ourselves ahead of today's trading session. So I encourage you to stay tuned in so that you don't miss out on any of the ideas we shall be discussing today. And for those who are joining us for the first time, you are highly welcome on board. I'm very grateful and glad to have you around. And what we simply do here as technical traders is to come together in anticipation of the New York session and London session, of course, and review if we have any existing positions running, manage our existing position as well, while we also strategically position ourselves ahead of both the London and the New York session. I encourage you to stay tuned in and be part of our subsequent editions, as the more time you spend with us, the better you get in understanding how this works and eventually be able to use the information you have gathered here to make your own independent trading decisions. So with that being said, here we shall be diving right into the business, and as usual the first thing we normally do is to of course check on the economic calendar. And for those who have been with me for a while now, we know how important these events are, as these fundamental factors often manifest on the chart in technical patterns and price movement. By monitoring the economic calendar, we can identify potential correlations between key economic releases and specific technical patterns right on the chart, hereby giving us valuable information that will make us be able to position ourselves ahead during and even after this event. So on the economic calendar, we normally focus on high impact event coming in from the economic dockets that will be affecting the assets on our watch list. For today, we have two high impact events coming in from the United States. And the first one here is the producer price index, which if you don't know, this data is released by the Bureau of Labor Statistics, Department of Labor, and it measures the average changes in prices in primary markets of the US by producers of commodities in all states of processing. And this is an high impact event, and of course, generally speaking, a high reading is considered as positive for the US dollar. But if we look at the previous data here, it came in at 0.7%, and we have a consensus. Economists are projecting 0.2%, which is not an encouraging data at all. So there is a contraction. There is an expected, 2.2%, and there is an expected contraction in that sector. So we are going to be looking forward to what the actual data is going to be like. Will it be as expected, below expectation, or even beyond expectations? Then simultaneously, we have the retail sales data, which also is not giving, the consensus here too is not giving us a promising figure as well, which of course buttresses the contraction in that sector too as well. So we shall be looking forward to what the actual data is going to be like. But one thing we do here as technical traders is to sniff through the current market structure in such a way that we can identify patterns and structures that will help us position ourselves ahead of this event. And one thing we've come to understand is that prior to this event, there is a way the major players in the market build up their position ahead of this event, and of course it will definitely evolve into certain structures and patterns that we can actually use to understand the psychology in the market, and at the same time use it to position ourselves ahead of any potential move. Now, with that being said here, let's dive right into the chart and let's look at the current market structure from a technical standpoint. Now, the first asset we are going to be looking at today, as usual, is going to be the GBPUSD. And on the GBPUSD, since the beginning of this week, it is quite obvious that price action hasn't really moved significantly in any particular direction. Though we had opportunities where we bought. I think we had two occasions where we bought. We bought on Monday, we bought on Tuesday too as well, but at both instances, price really did not move significantly well, which is a clear sign that there is an indecision, there is a level of uncertainty in this market. Now, during our live session yesterday, we acknowledged that despite the choppy, indecisive phase in this market, we gradually saw price action move in a find lower highs in this market, revealing the potential of sellers in this particular market. But one thing here that we took note of, that it's still a barrier for sellers, is the 1.245 area. As you will see here, that since last week Wednesday, price action, sellers have found it difficult as soon as price action gets into the zone. And as a result of this, we were very cautious about taking advantage of any selling opportunity if price remains above that structure. But yesterday we saw some traction actually in favor of the pound sterling, especially after the CPI data came in, as we saw price drop into the zone, and just like it has always been doing around that area, we saw a sharp rejection of that zone, giving us signs that sellers still struggle around that level. And in fact, price broke out of that descending trend line, as you will see here. But despite the breakout, you will see that price action still remains within a zone that's, in fact, it's not even far away from that descending trend line. And for me, this is a clear sign that this market is still very, very indecisive at this point in time. Hence, any position we are going to be taking today will need some confirmations before we can jump into that position. And in fact, I talked about this in my commentary this morning as regards to the setup. And for those who are with me on both my TradingView and Telegram platform, you definitely have gotten this update. So I would like to run through what I said here this morning. So I said here that the ongoing market situation underscores prevailing uncertainties with persistent selling pressure thwarting multiple attempts to breach the critical 1.2500 zone. Any trading opportunity in this environment demands confirmation before entering positions. Our chart levels remain essential reference points for potential trading opportunities. So we still have our levels in place. We still have those levels intact for trading opportunities. But one thing I said here is that we will need confirmations to happen. Now, where is our center of focus for today? Where are we looking at to make an informed decision? Well, if you look at the structure closely, you will see that in the last 24 hours, price action had remained within the 1.25 and the 1.24875 to further emphasize the level of indecision around that area. And you of course know how we do it in this community. When price action falls into such range, we want to exercise patience, waiting for a signal to come, either in the form of a breakout of the resistance line to give us an opportunity to buy, or the breakdown of the support line to give us an opportunity to sell. Now, with this scenario here, I am still of the opinion that if price breaks out of the 1.2500 area, the potential of buyers is still there, but I would need some confirmations to happen here. Now, the reason why that is, one, we have been witnessing a strong bearish momentum here since the beginning of the week, and in fact, in a long time, in the last couple of months, the pound sterling has been dropping significantly to the downside. Now, if price breaks out of the 1.25 like this, I will be advising us to hold on for confirmations to happen here. And to do that, we would, as soon as the breakout happens, we want to scale down into our lower time frames, where we shall look out for retest of structure and the appearance of buy pressure around or above this area to incite an uptrend scenario. So personally, on the GBPUSD, if a breakout happens, let's hold on, let's wait for the retest of structure to give us further confirmation that truly buyers will be dictating the pace, at least for the second half of this week. However, if price instead drops and breaks down the 1.24875, which happens to be the support line of this range, then I would look for a retest of structure as confirmation with selling pressure below that area on my lower time frame to give me an opportunity to join that decline to the downside. And in fact, if we are going to be selling the GBPUSD today, we want to be very, very careful. Remember that this area here between the 1.24620 and the 1.245 has been a major buying niche in this market, as sellers have not found that area easy to break in the last 1 week. So we need to be very, very careful here. So if we sell, let's ensure that we are on standby to move our stop losses accordingly to lock in the profit. So that is how we are going to be selling here. And if price action goes on to break down the 1.24620, 1.245 zone, break it down significantly, and a couple of retests of that structure, then we want to be considering adding more position to our existing trade. So on the GBPUSD, both scenarios are still very open at this point. We do not have any trade running right here, and I've emphasized here that it is important that we wait for confirmations before jumping into any position here. So once the breakout happens, let's wait for a retest of structure, confirming that price action is actually going in the direction of the breakout. And if there is anything new that comes up on this chart, I will definitely share them with you on both my TradingView and Telegram platform. So I don't know if you have any questions as regards to my explanation. If you have, let me know in the comment section. So I will be taking the next 10 to 15 seconds to see if there are any questions whatsoever before I move on to the next financial asset. So, all right, in the absence of no questions, I want to assume that we are all on the same page. So, let's move right into the next financial asset on our watch list. So the next asset on our watch list for today is my favorite. That is the XAUUSD, popularly known as the gold spot. And in fact, since the beginning of the week, we have been selling this asset. And though we had a buy position at the beginning of the week, which didn't go in our favor, we were stopped out on that one. We had a loss at the beginning of the week, but fortunately, we've been able to recoup the loss we incurred at the beginning of the week as price action had continued to trade below our entry zone that we took advantage of on Tuesday. So remember, we sold right below this area, and I told us all yesterday, I think on Tuesday, I told us all to move all our stop loss to our entry point at the $1,916.50 zone. And since that time, price is yet to take us out of the sell position on the XAUUSD, as price still remains below that area. And in fact, yesterday we had the privilege of adding one more position to our existing trade since price broke down the 1,909. And for those who are taking advantage of these opportunities, well done to you for being on standby to capitalize on this move. And right now, if you are taking advantage, you have a minimum of 2 positions running in profit right now, one at the $1,916.50 area, and of course the other at the $1,909 level. And we have roughly about how many pips in profit right now. The first position is running with over 100 pips in profit, while we have the second position right here running with about 30 pips in profit, giving us a total of over 100 pips on this move. Though it's not that significant compared to what we have been making on the XAUUSD in the previous weeks, but at least it's still something that we are grateful for. And in fact, we were of course able to recoup the loss we incurred at the beginning of the week, which is something I always appreciate. Now, with the way things are going right now, it is appropriate that we move our stop losses and secure the position. But at this point in time, the second position is still not something that we can hold on to as a profit at this point in time. So the breakdown of the 1,909 is still very tentative right now. So all stop losses should be around below the $1,913.50 level, which happens to be right above that descending trend line we have been using as our yardstick to guide trading decisions for this week. So let's give enough room for price action to breathe, with the hope that price action will continue to find lower lows and lower highs in this market. So with a well secured position at this juncture, what is going to be our next line of action for today? How do we intend to capitalize on any potential opportunities today? Now, before I go into the details here, I would like us to run through my commentary on the XAUUSD this morning as regards to this current setup and how we intend to manage this current market structure. So this morning I made mention here that gold prices continues to grapple with selling pressure as anticipation builds for upcoming US producer price index today, and of course the retail sales data release. These are very high impactful events that everyone in the market will be looking forward to. And of course, the anticipation of this event alone has a tendency of influencing the nature of price movement in this market. And this is one thing we want to be monitoring so that we can catch in due time a setup that will guide our trading decisions for today. While the trading setup from yesterday is still intact, the sell position remains active and we are poised to seize additional trading opportunities as market conditions evolve. Now let's go back into the live chat and see what we are talking about here. Now, the first thing we want to acknowledge here, like we have been doing since the beginning of the week, is the trend of this market. And for since the beginning of this week, the trend has been quite bearish. It's obvious, though we had situations in the last 24-48 hours where price action has been confined within a range, but the fact here is price still remains below that descending trend line. And as long as price remains below that descending trend line, we have no business considering buying this asset. Sorry, excuse me, please. So as long as price still remains below that descending trend line, we have no business buying this asset. Now, there is something that we need to take note of here, which is very concerning. In fact, this week on the XAUUSD has been very, very indecisive for me, actually. Now, if you look at the structure here and look at what has been going on since Tuesday's trading session in the last 48 hours, it is quite clear that there has been an indecision here. As you see, price has been caught within this range for a long time before we finally saw this significant breakdown of the structure this morning. And this here tells us a lot about the psychology of participants in this market, and I can connect this behavior to the anticipation of the major event that is going on this week. Remember, we had a CPI data yesterday which actually came in beyond expectations. We're looking forward to the PPI data, that is the producer price index, today, and of course we are looking forward to what's other one, the retail sales data, which of course also has an influence in the economic situation of the United States. And I think the anticipation of this event is the reason why the market is indecisive at this point, as majority in the market are stepping aside to see what this data would be. And of course, we all know that the Federal Reserve also is monitoring the events, these economic events, in anticipation of the interest rate decision coming up much more later in the month. And as a result of this, we need to be very, very careful, as we can see the nature of the nature of the psychology of participants in this market. So at this point in time, I will still be holding on to a bearish bias as long as price still remains below that descending trend line. However, if at any point in time we see price break out of that descending trend line, I have a level here which also shares a confluence with that descending trend line, and that is the 1,909 level. Now, if price will break out of this trend line, then we want to start considering a momentum shift. Now, look at what has been going on here since Tuesday. You will see that we have this zone here serving as a buying niche for participants in this market. In fact, on Wednesday, when we saw price come into the zone, we saw this sharp rejection of this area. We saw buy pressure around this area yesterday, and let's see if this breakdown here will stand the test of time. And if it does, then we want to see further breakdown of the $1,905.50 level to add more position to the sell position we have. But if price action climbs up and break out of the 1,909, break out of the descending trend line, then we want to be rooting for a momentum shift at this point. Now, remember that we are not going to be getting too excited here by having a buy stop order above this level, as we will need some confirmations to happen before we jump into a position. And one of the things I want to be looking out for is a breakout of structure, price coming back to retest with continued buy pressure on our lower time frame before I can start considering buying this asset. But if you've been profitable so far this week, if you have been part of our profitable journey since Tuesday, that is, you sold below the $1,916.50 level, definitely you must have a minimum of 100 pips running at this point in time. So if price action along the line breaks out of that structure, we can afford to leverage on the profit we had made so far this week to test waters around the 1,909. So if a breakout happens, we want to be part of that move. And if it doesn't work, then we know that we're just leveraging on the profit we had made so far this week. And remember that you want to have your stop losses in place, and of course the levels we have here will be used as a yardstick to guide our stop losses on this chart. So we should be having a stop loss of about 35 to 40 pips on the buy position if it gets triggered. However, if you are new with us and this is going to be your first position on the XAUUSD for this week, then I will be suggesting that you hold on for confirmations to happen, retest of structure like this before jumping into that buy position here. So that is how we are going to be buying the XAUUSD today if price breaks out of that descending trend line. However, if price continues to drop to the downside, then we want to be looking out for more selling opportunities below the $1,905.50 level to maximize the potential of that bearish move. So this is how we are going to be managing our positions for the XAUUSD today. So our center of focus for today basically is between the $1,909 and the $1,905.50 level, where the breakout or breakdown of this zone is likely going to be giving us a clue of where price action is going to be heading to, at least for the second half of this week. So we do want to be marking out these levels on our chart, and if there is anything new that comes up along the line today, I will definitely be sharing them with you on both my TradingView and Telegram platform. So it's a simple setup we have here. Let's see how the market will evolve in the next couple of hours, and of course we shall be here to give update, and of course we are going to be doing the XAUUSD live window today as always to have a real-time monitoring of price action on this asset. So these are my views here on the XAUUSD for today. I don't know if you have any questions. If you do, feel free to let me know in the comment section as what is it that your concerns are. So I will be taking the next 10 to 15 seconds to see if there are any questions, and you can as well use that time to mark out these levels on your chart. All right, so in the absence of no questions, I want to assume that we are all on the same page. So we shall be moving right into the next financial asset on our watch list. So the next asset on our watch list for today is the USDJPY, and remember I told you how sensitive this area we are in right now in this market has been for the last couple of months now, as everyone in the markets is anticipating the a potential intervention by the Bank of Japan. And as a result of this new high we are finding ourselves, the price is yet to acclimatize with the zone, as majority who have buy positions are taking off their positions from the market gradually, and this is resulting in this choppy scenario we're witnessing in this market. And since the beginning of this week, we had a trend line which has been supporting that bullish momentum, this bullish momentum here. And in fact, yesterday we finally saw the breakdown of that structure. The market came back to retest it, and one of the things we talked about yesterday is that if price action does break down and retest that level around the 147.400 area, which of course shares a confluence with an ascending trend line, that we shall be looking out for selling opportunity. And in fact, we saw price drop significantly from that area with about 38 pips in profit before this bullish momentum began here. And of course, if you had moved your stop losses accordingly, you must have been taken out with a modest size of profit, or at a worst case scenario, break even on that one. So for this week so far, we really have not seen anything significant on the USD JPY as price. Though we had a bullish momentum, I still think that this bullish momentum, these higher highs and higher lows we noticed here, is as a result of the retracement. Now, if we are going to be looking at the fundamental aspect of this market, remember that on Sunday, the Bank of Japan Governor Ueda, he made an hawkish comment as regards to the central bank's plan for the monetary policy for the Bank of Japan's for this year. And one of the things he said on Sunday was that they are likely going to be abandoning their current monetary policy rate, which is minus 0.1%, and that will be dependent on the economic situation before the end of the year. And this led to a spike, a rise in the price of the yen, as you saw it drop significantly here at the beginning of the week. However, a new development came in on Tuesday, where one of the major political personnel of the Japanese economy reiterated that the current monetary policy is still what the Japanese economy needs. And as a result of this, we can see that that traction had reduced and resulted in this higher highs and higher lows we notice here, which of course I'm still of the opinion is likely going to be a retracement move as participants continue to digest the magnitude of these comments on this asset. Now, from a technical standpoint, if we look at this from a technical standpoint, what is it that we are going to be looking at here to change our bias? Is this still bearish or is it bullish at this point in time? Well, the structure would tell. But this morning, while I was sniffing through the current market structure, there is one significant thing I noticed in this market this morning. Now, throughout the Asian session, we saw here that sellers, despite this breakdown retest of the ascending trend line, we saw that as soon as price got into the psychological level at the 147.00 area, we begin to notice buy pressure resume around the zone. And for one thing, this is a sign that sellers are still struggling to push price to the downside, as majority are still holding on to a bullish momentum in this market. And as a result of this, I was of the opinion that if price action will continue like this and break out of the 147.250, then we might want to be part of a bullish move here. But if we are going to be joining any bullish momentum here, we will need some confirmations to happen before we jump into a position. And one of the things we shall be looking out for as confirmations here is a breakout retest of structure, where the appearance of buy pressure here on our lower time frame will be all we need to confirm that we might likely be seeing an uptrend continuation at this point. So this is how we are going to be capitalizing on an uptrend scenario around this area. And to consider selling this asset today, I would prefer price action to take out all the buy positions within that 147.00 area for me to start considering selling. And what I want to see here is a breakdown retest of this level to start considering a bearish move. If this does not happen, I will hold on to a bullish bias above the 147.250 area. So this is my view here on the USDJPY today. Our center of focus for today's trading session is basically between the 147.250 and the 147.00 area, where we have noticed buy pressure resume around that area despite that impulsive bearish move we witnessed here yesterday. So let's see how the market will play out here in the next couple of hours. And of course, if there is anything new, I will be sharing them with you on both my TradingView and Telegram platform. So these are my views here on the USDJPY. If you do have any questions whatsoever as regards to this current setup, feel free to let me know in the comment section. So I will be taking the next 10 to 15 seconds to see if there are any questions whatsoever before we round off for today. All right, so while I wait for potential questions or inquiries, let me mention here that I already dropped the link to the XAUUSD live monitoring window right in the comment section. You want to click on it, click on the notify me button so that you can get notified whenever we come online. So the XAUUSD live window is a platform that was born out of the idea of real-time price action monitoring of the gold asset, and this normally starts 5 to 10 minutes into the New York session every day. So you do want to be part of that session so you can see how we take advantage of trading opportunities on the XAUUSD. So let's see how that works. And for those who are joining us for the first time, I do hope you are able to gain one or two things from what we discussed here today, and I encourage you to be part of our subsequent edition, as the more time you spend with us, the better you get in understanding how things works here, and eventually be able to use the information you have gathered to make your own independent trading decisions. Please don't forget to support the project. If you have found this content helpful and useful in making your independent trading decisions for today's London and New York session, kindly support this project by giving it a thumbs up. Your likes are valuable to me, and in fact it helps the YouTube algorithm promote the video to a wider audience of traders who may find this content beneficial to them. This is the cheapest way you can support this project, and thank you very much as you do so. So with that being said here, I think I will just have to call it a day here. It has been a wonderful moment. We were able to attend to 3 financial assets, which include the GBPUSD, XAUUSD, and of course the USDJPY, where we were able to identify simple setups using simple parameters such as trend lines, key levels, and chart patterns to position ourselves strategically ahead of the London and the New York session today. Thank you very much for your time, and I do hope to see you right in the comment section of both my TradingView Telegram platform and of course during the XAUUSD live monitoring window as we continue to monitor price action. Do have a wonderful day, everyone. Bye bye.